at the same time, it's like you don't know until you know. And one of the things I write about in the book is if you realize it's a box, you've already outgrown it. But it takes us sometimes a little bit of time to realize it's a box.
Hi, I'm John Timmerman, and yesterday I took a sip from my son's sippy cup because I wasn't quite sure what was in it.
And I'm Al Kutri, and the human body freaks me out.
And we are the co-founders of the NoBull company.
Hey everybody, today's episode is brought to you by Papa Swolio's New England Clam Protein Chowder. All the deliciousness of New England Clam Chowder, but with protein powder. Chowder. Anyway, can't wait to try it. I can already feel myself getting huge.
What's up, NoBull Nation? Welcome to I'm a Little Buzz, the show where we bring a ridiculous amount of life to business, all while sharing a glass or a bottle of whatever's making us happy and sharing stories about what's getting us buzzed. We will soon be coming to you straight out of the Syracuse studios. Syracuse is Syracuse's newest, greatest co-working space, combining creativity, community, and comfort to help you live through this remote work era that we seem to be in. What's getting you buzzed, Al?
ClickFunnels. ClickFunnels and online business. Where am I looking? There. ClickFunnels and online business. I don't know if anybody knows who he is.
What's a ClickFunnel?
Look him up. Russell Brunson. Mm-hmm. Him, I always talk about this. Him, Tony Robbins, Dean Graziosi. Now they're doing their own challenge, and I love these stupid challenges, but they're so good and they're free. And basically, like, anything you've ever seen online where, online retail or anything you've ever purchased online really got into your hands by a ClickFunnel. And just on your own time, look that up. And I think now more than ever is the time of online businesses.
We're using it.
We're using it. People are home. People are starting businesses. People have lost their jobs. They're reinventing themselves. It's so important to educate yourself on how to build a business online and learn all about the different ways and the ClickFunnels and everything that comes with it. And I just like to say ClickFunnels.
There's definitely a science to it.
Oh, it's such a complex, amazing science. And it's fascinating me because it's definitely a little over my head. So I've been just deep diving on the computer, learning about it, and taking this challenge, which I think it's called the ClickFunnel Challenge, and it's basically like it's a 30-day challenge, and every day you learn something major about like starting an online business, and it's super intense, and I effing love it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, also, side note, now you know how I make a living. Good Monster.
Yeah.
All about the ClickFunnels. Not the company ClickFunnels,
I know,
but like that science, it's crazy. There's so many components that we have a whole team of people doing different things.
Yeah, and I give you guys all the credit because I'm just like...
But to your point though, it can be built by one person.
Totally.
Right? Like totally. You can, and lots of people have built online businesses by themselves using these different modules.
I mean, the whole Amazon, just take Amazon, right? Like just that.
Yeah.
One site, one platform. And even when you're doing private label stuff or you're whatever, like it's just, it's crazy.
The world is wide open for people.
It's wide open. And
with an internet connection and a cell phone.
My almond shaped eyes are like now just opening to the world of
apple shaped.
Yeah. To the world of online business, because I've never ever thought I would be in that world. I was always in the entertainment world, or just online was just online, but now it's like
crazy time
to build. So what about you?
I'm getting buzzed about fall in upstate New York. My favorite season. Side note, I'm also getting buzzed about Burt's Beeswax because my lips are chapped. But foliage right? In upstate New York.
Because many people can't say foliage, which blows my mind. Like it's foliage.
Foliage.
Yeah.
Like it's a hard word, or like they don't know what it means.
People have screwed it up and butchered it, and I'm like
foliage. Maybe Boston or something, or what?
What that was?
I'm trying to figure out what you mean by like butchering. Foliage. Although that's impressive. That's how you say it.
Do we start saying foliage?
The foliage in upstate New York is unmatched.
So yeah, you're pumped about it? You go anywhere? I mean, I know you go to camp, but...
The leaves in upstate New York and the Adirondacks specifically turn like reddish, orangish, yellowish. Like you look at mountains.
All the colors.
And it's just like this, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like a watercolor painting. Or like
Bob Ross?
Yeah. Straight up like Bob Ross painting. And
tree here.
Yeah, I know you like the pumpkin spice coffee and stuff, and I'm a little pumpkin spiced out, but just all of that. The warmer clothes, the jeans.
Fall's a great season, man.
Yeah, the apple cider, the apple picking, which I'm not sure
that's totally happening.
That's happening.
Started,
it's outdoors.
Official apple picking started, I think, 2 days ago here.
Oh, all right.
So shout out to Beacon Skiff.
That's what I'm excited about. So, cheers. Hey Buzz Nation, are you a Gary Vaynerchuk fan? How about David Meltzer? How about Shay Rowbottom, Constance Schwartz Marini, and more? That's right, NoBull 2020 2.0 is coming up April 8th, 2021. Do you want a free ticket? I know how you can get one. Head over to empathywines.com and buy any 12 bottles of delicious Empathy, rosé, white, the red, and use the code NoBull 2020 at checkout, and you will get a free $250 front section seating ticket to watch Gary, to watch Shay, and to watch all the amazing speakers April 8th. Head over to NoBull2020.com for more info, and we'll see you there. On today's show, we've got the buzzworthy, amazing human being, Brit Barron. Brit is an author, speaker, and diversity and inclusion trainer who speaks in order to equip and empower others. She is a natural connector and addresses areas of personal development, race, gender, and sexuality. Brit currently partners with organizations to lead her company's signature training, Understanding Racism 101, and moves teams and individuals through a process of understanding, unpacking, and then moving into anti-racism action plans. The big conversations around diversity, equality, and inclusion come from her life experience, which is shared in her recent book, Worth It, which I am about halfway through and I'm loving it. Overcome your fears and embrace the life you were made for. Also, quick side note, NoBull Nation out there, her friends call her Beans, and by default now you do too. But NoBull Nation, please welcome Brit Barron. Hey Brit, how are you?
Hello. I'm good. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much. We're super excited. Before we dive into your story, we like to have fun, which all of our audience members know, and so we have a little segment. It's called the Sippy Sip. Al, what's the Sippy Sip?
The Sippy Sip is total free association. I'm going to ask you some questions. You're going to say whatever comes to your mind. And if you don't like the question, you can just be like, Al, that's a stupid question. I don't like it. Pass.
Perfect.
You just shut your mouth, Al, and then we'll go to the next one.
Quiet.
That's right. Did you shut? Okay. Ready?
Yes.
MTV or VH1?
Oh, MTV.
All day. Coffee or tea?
Neither.
Fair. What's one thing that confuses you?
Taxes.
Same. God, that hit home. Biggest fear?
Dying, maybe? Probably, yeah.
It's not public speaking, so.
Yeah. Perfect, yeah. It's not that, I'm gonna go with death, yeah.
Fill in the blank, 2020 is?
So weird.
Zach, Slater, or Screech?
Oh, Screech.
Love it. True or false? Cats are arrogant and aloof.
That's true.
Thank you.
Wait, what does this aloof mean, actually? Sorry, ruining the rapid fire.
Get a cat and you'll know.
Okay.
You just gotta be around a cat to really...
Yeah.
I'll come back to you both and be like,
furry asshole, excuse my French, but
Yeah.
It's what it is. Since losing the handshake, are you a fist bumper or a generic waiver?
I'm a waiver.
Same. Old Jumanji or new Jumanji?
Oh, okay, that's a tough one.
I know.
Oh, man. I'm just going to go with new Jumanji because there's two.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, it's like double.
yeah,
Yep.
quantity.
If you could be any animal, what would it be?
Bear, and I would take winters off. though. That sounds nice.
Smart. And you answered that fast. I feel like this isn't the first time you've thought about this.
Really, I think about it often. I'm like, they work really hard, and then they just take winters off.
Yeah, gosh.
Great answer.
I know. They're the original snowbird. Snow bear.
Snow bear.
Fair.
Yeah.
Agree.
Snow bear.
Agree or disagree? Pumpkin spice anything should be available all year.
I don't like pumpkin spice or anything, but for people who like it, yeah, go get it all year. You know.
Well,
I don't like pumpkin spice either.
John overdosed on it. And
I did.
Now he doesn't like it, and
Yeah.
I'm still very much a pumpkin spice kind of guy.
It's very particular.
It
It's got
is.
a specific thing going on.
It is.
Yeah, I went too hard one year. I went pumpkin beer, pumpkin like donuts, pumpkin spice,
Well, you
coffee. I went too far. Now my taste buds, I feel like just pumpkined out.
did
Just rejecting it.
You did
Yeah.
it wrong. I'm still very much in that space, so I'm gonna after this go and get one.
You do you.
Perfect.
Is that what is
Got a
in the
pumpkin
cup right
pie
now?
oven.
That's what's in the cup right now. No, I'm just kidding. But that's it. That was that simple.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, you made it. You
feel
passed.
ready.
Good job.
Good. Okay. Thank God.
But before we dive into the main discussion, now is the time when we cheers to you and something ridiculous that we come up with. So cheers to you, Brit. Beans. Sorry, we can't call you
Yep.
Brit anymore.
Yeah, no more.
To life, love, lots of laughter, and always saying, "Oh, look, horses!" when passing any horse, anywhere, always, all the time.
Cheers.
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 So I got a message that said, "There's a cheers part.
This is
Get a
the
drink ready."
this is the first time we've been out drinked.
We've been out drunked.
Not
Drinking.
drinked like having been drunken,
Yeah.
but like out drink presented by our guest.
Yeah.
So I have a story.
I literally have a closet full of alcohol. I will go get it right now.
I'm just saying.
Are you on 75 hard still?
No, I failed.
Oh, I thought that's why you were drinking water.
No, I just didn't.
I didn't bring your little cup.
We have it. Yeah, you didn't bring the baby shot glass that I always drink out of, so we didn't. I don't know.
I'm only drinking water because I just spent about 10 days drinking nothing but alcohol.
That's good. That's a good
So,
cleanse.
yeah.
And most of our guests sort of didn't follow the whole like.
I'm very impressed.
Yeah,
Lindsay,
like you know.
Brit's the one.
Well, I told my wife, I was like, "Babe, I have this podcast, and it says like I have to have a drink," and she was like, "I'm gonna make you something."
What'd
Tell
you
us.
make?
Came
Tell
up
me
with this
everything.
like beautiful,
Yeah, it's got
like-
a salted rim of some sort.
yeah, some tahini on the rim.
Oh.
It's tequila and prickly pear syrup.
All right, now we have to have you back so we can make some drinks and share a proper.
Man, I'm ready. I have
Yes.
a backup drink in the fridge.
Ah,
This
I
has
don't know
Man.
how long it's gonna go.
Beans. This is gonna get fixed right now, John.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Who do I need to talk to? Who do I have to talk to?
yeah, we're audible, calling an audible on this podcast. Am I still going, or are we cutting this out? Okay.
You just hold the fork down.
This is the best part about having a podcast. So tequila, first of all,
Yep.
new, not favorite alcohol, but this year I really discovered tequila beyond a shot of tequila.
Yes.
Like actually sipping a tequila or making a drink out of tequila.
Yes.
Has this always been around? Or I feel like tequila,
It's perfect. And have you gotten into mezcal at all?
I don't even know what that is. Is that a brand or a style?
It's a style, and it's really smoky. It's like if tequila was a bourbon.
Okay, sold. No, I haven't.
Yeah.
Is it the like goldish type of tequila, or is it?
No, so there's
clear-
3 types of tequila, and then there's like a billion types of. I think technically tequila is a type of mezcal, or the opposite. I don't know, like scotch and rum or something. But
Are you making me one? Oh, ice. Yeah. Oh,
oh wow, look at this service over there.
okay.
Also, like clouds, no clouds are happening from my window. Sorry about
That's
the
okay.
lighting, but it's like a fun adventure. For
Yeah.
whoever-
So but apparently, so is this podcast.
So we got at our wedding, my wife and I, the most expensive thing at our wedding, like more than our dresses, was we got a custom 3-foot neon sign that says "Tequila over boys," which was our family motto.
Badass.
That now like sits in our kitchen. It's like hot pink. Gives our whole house like this like glow of tequila. So we are very avid tequila supporters.
Oh man, I might be contacting you for some recommendations.
Yes.
Well, how about now? What's your favorite brand? Currently favorite, whatever you're drinking. Give me something to go off of.
Okay, current favorite tequila brand is it's called Fortaleza.
Okay.
And it's delicious. Specifically the Reposado.
Okay.
Fortaleza. So like
Taleza.
Fortalezza, I think.
Okay, I'm gonna watch this back, make sure I grab it, and next time we have you on, we'll be drinking. I have no idea what I'm drinking, but so much
It's
for my
Gentleman's
detox.
Jack.
Ah, perfect.
So we'll cheers one more time.
Trash.
Cheers. Thank you
Cheers.
for inspiring us.
Appreciate
Beans.
you.
Cheers.
Clink, clink.
Yeah. Oh, once it touches your lips.
It's so good. Okay, now I'm back.
Oh yeah.
Okay, for those of you who are still listening to our ridiculousness, everyone gets it. All of our podcasts are like this. But we want to talk about life and business. So the NoBull company, we are a media company. We talk about life and present life and business and the intersection between the two. Way too often do we talk about business separate from life. No longer is the case, especially in 2020. There's lots of lines that aren't there anymore. But we did not do your story justice in this little intro that I did. So before we dive into questions, can you give your sort of personal story? Where did you grow up? What kind of transitions happened, and where did you land? Where do we find you today?
So I actually grew up in Colorado. And I grew up in the 90s, and like a lot of people in the 90s, I feel like super religious. So evangelical Christian household, and got really into that and sort of committed to that. So the beginning part of my adult life was very steeped in that. I went to a Christian college. I ended up working at a different Christian college, and then I became a pastor at a mega church, which is sort of like you've arrived as an evangelical
and pretty young too, right?
Yeah, I was 26. And so there's a part of me that's like, heck yeah, like 26-year-old, like Black woman pastor at a mega church. It felt like, you gotta get through some barriers to make it that far. And then in that was sort of my plan for life. Maybe I'll be like a Christian speaker, or just like take this church thing on. I didn't have a ton of plans because I was 26. So you kind of just do whatever is happening. And then at that job, I met a girl, and I was like, wait a minute. What is happening?
Oh, no.
Something's
and then
different.
I was like, yeah, we joke. We met, and we instantly became best friends. We've known each other for like 2 weeks. This is like such cliche lesbian, of course. I'm like, I love you.
Yeah.
That's exactly like me, and I'm not a lesbian.
Perfect, exactly.
I literally do the same thing. Don't worry.
It's not just you.
So
It's not
we
just
met, and it's like 2 weeks into our friendship, and we're hanging out, and we haven't quite put all the pieces together, that we're like into each other. And Sammy, who's now my wife, she's like, I know this might sound weird, but I just feel like we're already so close. Like, you're gonna be in my wedding one day. And I was like, yeah, same. We're like developing this like weird close friendship. And then, as the months go by, I was like, oh my God, like all of the pieces had finally kind of like clicked together. And I was like, shit, this is amazing. And also this is the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just went headfirst whole life into a career where like the one thing you can't do is be gay. Like you can blur a lot of lines, but like that one,
That's
you
a
cannot
tough one.
do. So then I was like, the next few years were just a blur of like figuring it out, like going to therapy, talking, slowly starting to come out to people in my life, and eventually just kind of being like, I have to make the right choice here, and that's leaving my job, leaving that community, and just choosing what I believe in, what I stand for, and who I love. So did that. We've been married now for 3 years.
Congrats.
And it's the relational side of life since then has been so amazing, and the professional side was a bit more of a journey, because a mega church pastor has almost no transferable skills. Hey, hire me. I was a mega church pastor. It's like, what? No. So figuring out what I wanted to do since then has been fun, and yeah, and difficult. And so my wife and I run a little company called Other Dreamers that has sort of developed into, like I said before, a lot of inclusion work. It's also where I house like writing and speaking. My wife is a creative director, so we have some creative elements. And so that's been really fun. And just last week, actually, we moved from LA to Austin.
Last week,
yes. This is
well. Cheers in your new space, in your new digs. Yeah, that's awesome.
Cheers.
Looks great so far. I love the shelves.
I know, my gosh.
I know.
Put that room together quick.
Yeah, it's literally the office and kitchen. We're like done. The first things, everything else, we're like, we can figure it out.
The necessities.
Yeah,
of life.
yeah. That's what I would do. Absolutely.
So
And here we are. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that story. I'm eager to dive into, what I've learned about you and kind of share that with our audience, because I think, we have a wide variety of people on the show. We just got done interviewing Candace Matthews Breckine. She's Black woman venture capitalist who's investing in underserved people and founders and communities. We've had on content creators, that have millions of followers on all the social media channels, and they're turning that into a business. So we love to explore kind of the different sides of living life, and then plugging business into that. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of people who are listening or will listen to this podcast that are loosely in the position you are in. They may be Black, or they may be lesbian, or they may be indigenous. Which we just learned from Candace. They may be in an underserved area of their life, or put into a box.
Yeah.
And so no matter what gender, race, they might be suppressed in some way. Maybe, I know a little bit about your parents, and they were very supportive of you, but there's a lot of people out there that may be super rich and their parents put them into a box, and it's in different ways, hard to get out of those boxes wherever they are. And you've seemed to achieve that and become very, very happy, with where you are. So one of the first questions that I have is, when you look back on the transition of being in the box, for general terms, and getting outside of the box, what are some of the shifts that happened in your head or the triggers that happens in real life? Not to say that everyone's going to follow these, but just give an example of some of the things you can pinpoint to be able to, or looking back saying, oh, this was one of those moments where I started to climb out, or even knew I was in a box.
Yeah, it's tough, because sometimes I look back and I'm like, want to shake myself, and I'm like, you needed to do this so much sooner, so much faster, so much quicker. Like, you know what I mean?
Sure.
But at the same time, it's like you don't know until you know. And one of the things I write about in the book is if you realize it's a box, you've already outgrown it. But it takes us sometimes a little bit of time to realize it's a box. Like, for a while, like that, the narrative about me, the expectations on me, like that felt like reality. That felt like truth. Like, this is who I'm supposed to be. This is what I'm supposed to do. I didn't see it as a box. I didn't see it as other people's expectations. I saw it as like truth. And so unraveling other people's expectations of me from what I wanted in my own life, as simple as it sounds, is like the beginning of the end for like whatever box people want you to be in, right? Because so many things were like, oh, I should do this. But then I was like, why? Like, you have to really pull on the thread of like, because my mom said so, because my 6th grade youth pastor told, you know what I mean? Like, you're like, wait, these aren't truths about me. These are people's expectations that they've put on me. And making that like little shift, I think that's when the train started to sort of leave the station. Just
the awareness, was yeah.
No, go ahead. Finish.
No, I was going on the next thing.
It's super fascinating to me, especially, obviously a part of our conference, our keynote speaker is Gary Vaynerchuk, who preaches to this a lot about judgment, the way we feel about ourselves, and most of the decisions that we make that maybe don't align with our true self are just simply put on to us by other people. And it's typically your parents, because that's the earliest form of influence that we have.
Yeah.
But, as John was saying earlier, in terms of life and business, I think now more than ever, our life is our business. Like, our life now more than ever becomes the business. Yeah. And people don't even realize it. And what I'm interested to hear from you is, you now have this brand, which is very much your life. Like, it's completely predicated on your entire life. And I think that for our listeners, there's a lot of people that are in a similar boat, like John said, where whether it was struggle for one reason or another, there's a storyline of struggle. And now they've realized, like, okay, this is my time to get out. So step one is realizing you're outside the box, which you've so eloquently said, once you realize it's a box, you've already evolved out of it.
Yeah.
In your opinion, like, what is step two for someone? Once they say, like, okay, look, here's my story, I can see it. What's step two? What was your step two?
I'd say my step two was acknowledging all of the reasons all of the things I was afraid of. So, like, naming all of the change. Like, that's what most people fear the most, right? Is change, because change is loss, And so I think I had to say, like, get very clear on, like, so in my example, in my story, all right, I love this person. I want to be with this person. That's what I know is true. That's what I know is good. That's what I know is right. So then why am I not doing it? Okay. I'm afraid people will treat me different. I'm afraid people will treat my family different. I'm afraid I'll lose friends. I'm afraid I'll lose my job. I'm afraid I'll lose community. I'm afraid I don't know what I'll do after. Like, all of these things. And I had to get very clear on what those were. So then I could address, like, at the end of the day, and this is a question I asked myself over and over, at the end of the day, if every single one of those things happened, would I still be okay? Because I think sometimes we try to trick ourselves into thinking, like, it won't happen, like, bad things won't happen, we won't lose anything, we're gonna, like, magically transform as people, we're gonna, like, start a business, we're gonna do all these things, and then, like, nothing's gonna change, right? Like, we, like, romanticize this idea. And in reality, everything I was afraid of literally happened.
All of it.
And I was still okay.
Right.
But I had to get clear with myself on the fact that I would be, right? And that was, like, therapy and, lots of conversations. But it's like, you have to name, this is the thing you want. And by the way, like you said, everyone is put into a box because everyone has expectations from people put onto them, whether it's like, here's how to be a mom, here's how to be a person.
From the moment you're born.
Exactly. And so going out of those is going to, like, shake up the narrative, and things might happen, but you need to get clear on the fact that, like, you'll be okay. Like, you will make it through the hardest day. You've already made it through every hard day you've been through. So the odds are in your favor, but you have to be so clear on that.
Probably one of the most profound things that I pulled out of your book for me, being a white dude, is you reflected back on your childhood with a friend of yours who came to you when you were saying things like, oh, that's gay, like, in a negative connotation, right? Like, oh, that outfit's gay, or like, why would you wear that? That's gay, or whatever, which is super, like, I think you even mentioned in the 90s or even 2000s, like, probably even today, I don't, hopefully less, but that's a very common ingrained thing into our vocabulary. Yeah. And you were just saying it like the rest of, at least the United States was saying it at a young age. And a friend of yours came up and said, like, that's super hurtful. And not to make you cringe again, but you put it in your book, like, you responded saying, like, oh, don't be so weak, that's gay.
About it.
Yeah, don't be so gay about it.
Yeah.
Thank you. I couldn't remember the exact thing, but
it was the worst. Yeah.
That
your feelings are gay.
Yeah, like
about it,
like that in the gay community, but also in a racist standpoint. Like that is something that I see in my communities, and you know, it's frustrating to hear. But can you describe, now looking back on that instance, now coming out, you know, you're also a woman of color, you're Black. You know, what does something like that do when the rest of us saying it think it's just, we don't mean it like that, right? Like, oh, we don't mean it like that. Like, why would you take it like that?
Yeah, like the desensitization of the word.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it was really important for me, like writing this book about like how like all these ways in which I've like quote unquote made it, or like, you know, like overcome something. I was like, the first chapter has to be about all the ways I've gotten it wrong. Because I want people to know that, because if you can connect with that and if you can remember that, it will change the way you interact with every conversation after. So I remember saying, like, truly, I mean, and now, like, you know, a few years later, joke's on me. I'm like, I wish I could find that kid, you know? But I remember thinking, like, what? Bro, it's just a word. Like, don't be gay about it. Like, it's, you know what I mean? Like, and it's literally cringe. Like, I hate, you know, I'm like, gag me. But that was like a true feeling I had. And there have been so many levels of my evolution with that word, right? With my own sexual identity on many levels that I'm sure was like, sweet 14-year-old me was like pushing down so far that like that felt like a really, I mean, there's so many things about me that made that moment possible and that have made this transformation possible now, and so many ways in which I need to keep doing that. But if I can stay in touch with that, then that changes the way that I have conversations now with white folks who are like, slavery was 400 years ago, right? It doesn't mean I dismiss it and I'm like, oh, they're just on their journey. But it does give me a different lens, a different ability to tap into, to communicate and to try to encourage and explain, and knowing that, like, from that kid telling me until like me waking up in a way, there were probably different levels of folks. And sometimes I have conversations, I'm like, all right, I might have been step 2 in a 10-step process, but maybe we did something here. Because I remember, I remember being like unconscious to my own thoughts and language and bias, and it was real. So I don't know, I guess I don't want to use, I don't know if empathy is the right word, but it does change the way I have this conversation.
And something you said too kind of made me think that this is sort of the way a lot of people react, especially when we're young, right? Like we're, you know, hormones and like whatever. You know, we want to fit in, we want to be cool, all this kind of stuff. But you mentioned that you were maybe you were like suppressing some things, and like so you were unconsciously like putting that out, like, oh, come on, stop being gay. But like, you know, in society, I think, I'm not a psychologist, so I'm just kind of going off of sort of what we see, but that happens a lot as like a defense mechanism of people when, you know, we see or hear them say mean things as a way to project out, you know, whatever they're dealing with, right? So maybe they have a, you know, terrible home life, and so they're making fun of somebody else's home life because they're embarrassed about their own home life. Like it's sort of a projection, and it's a sad kind of reality, but it seems to be sort of a human defense mechanism, basically.
Yeah, I mean, so one of my favorite quotes from one of my favorite authors, James Baldwin, he says, I imagine the reason people cling so tightly to hate is that they fear once the hate is gone, they'll be forced to deal with pain. And I think it rings true on every level, right? It's what you talked about, right? Like, I'm going through this, so like you're gonna go through something. Like, I think about this as my, you know, almost 10 years as a person in ministry, like, was telling people who were gay that is not what God wanted for them. Like, that was a thing I said to people with like a voice of authority. And my own grief about that is so deep that it had the potential to keep me from evolving, from growing, from changing, because what do I do with the fact that I participated in that? Like, what do I do with the reality that like I said that? And I think when we even have conversations about race, right, I think there are a lot of people that are like, if I evolve in this thinking, if I start to understand something new, what do I do with the way that I've treated people? What do I do with the jokes I've told? What do I do with these things? And so that pain, that grief will keep me from that evolution. And so I think we need to make space for people to forgive themselves, to experience pain, to sit with grief. Because if we don't, we're literally never going to evolve.
Yeah, and I mean, I agree with you in that. I think that, you know, there's a lot of people that say things and do things. Probably the majority of people say things and do things. They have no concept of the impact of those words, and we can expand. We can keep that, you know, based on race or gender preference or anything, just general communication back and forth. And, you know, as a former pastor and woman of faith, and you still are a woman of faith, but like, you know, life and death are in the power of the tongue. People have no clue what that means. People have no clue that it's so true that life and death are in the power of the tongue. And even if you say something unintentionally that is harmful, I think people really need the space to be able to step back, look at that, and then go and say more and apologize and say, hey, listen, I want to take that back and I want to clean that up emotionally and mentally. And I don't think people realize that even if they do say something, it's quite, I don't want to say super easy, but it's pretty easy to go and emote and say like, hey, I'm really sorry. Or like, you know, help me improve. And I think that instead of people, and you have seen, I'm sure, more of this than I have, but instead of people doing that, they just let it be. Yeah. They just let it be.
Oh, it's easier.
Like, I'm not going to go and say anything.
For themselves.
And, you know, I wish that people could really focus on that, you know, piece of scripture, whether they know it's from scripture or not, and realize like you can give someone life or you can kill them with just words.
And we know that, right? Because when we think about our own lives, the most powerful moments in our lives, whether they be positive or negative, it's probably someone speaking something to us, right?
Exactly.
Like something a bully said in 6th grade, and you remember, you're like 35 years old, and you're like, I remember exactly what they said and the way they said it, right?
Yeah.
And then like kind words from your grandma or whatever, like you remember those things. And we have the opportunity to normalize being corrected, to normalize saying like, oh my gosh, I did not know that, and now I can course correct, to
just
normalize
like
sort of these things. Right. It's not, you know, language, however powerful it is, it's also simple.
Super simple and reversible.
Yeah, right. You can stop today. You can stop using any word you want.
Yeah.
I think that actually is a really profound few words, right? That it's reversible, because I know from my small, you know, experiences that I think that's why a lot of people, particularly in the white community, you know, with BLM and the George Floyd murders and things that are going on now, they've said and believed a certain thing up to this point. Their community and their circle have all been talking about these things up to this point. They've been saying things, whether it's like, oh, that's gay, or you know, things like that, right? They've been doing it all up to this point. So to turn around and say something different now is like the thought that the pain that they would go through personally is something that most people aren't willing to overcome. The uncomfortableness of having the 10 people who you go to a barbecue with, I don't know, whatever, in your family. Like, I'm actually dealing with a little bit of this in my circle now. It's like, you know, things that so to back up, you know, we had this podcast and we've made it an intentional decision to bring on more people that will educate us in our community, in the business community, entrepreneurs that listen to this. And so, you know, that's why you're on here. You know, we all need to learn, and that's something that we've made the decision to do. But there's people that I'm connected with that aren't there yet. You mentioned sort of steps, right? They're not there yet. And so I'm constantly trying to figure out how, like, what is the thing that would make them realize how much
better.
pain, well, how much pain they're causing if anybody hears what they're talking about.
Right.
And that they could just change. But then I'll have one-on-one conversations with people, some of them, and all of a sudden, like, those walls are down. Like, now they are a little bit more understanding. Now they are a little bit more empathetic. But then you get them back in front of their friends or family or whatever it is, and they're right back there again. So it's this, I don't even understand it because I feel like I'm not built that way, or I was evolved, I guess.
Well, I think when anybody realizes, we'll just say, normal people that aren't in fact sociopaths, like realize that you're hurting someone. Like, you may not know it, you're hurting. I think once it comes in, when you frame it in the sense of like, hey, you are actually like harming someone and hurting someone, I think that helps with people to like, shift. But
and to transition now, good transition over to your business and how you're helping companies and people to understand racism, and like, what does it really mean? So thinking about that, and that there's a lot of the business community, white business community, that doesn't understand racism, our present company included. We're still learning and we're still making changes and being very, very aware of it. Whereas before, I wouldn't have called myself a racist. I, have lots of black friends, and I wouldn't
call you a racist either.
No, but like, now I'm looking back, not as aggressive as, making derogatory marks or anything like that. But like, now I see opportunities for change. How are you helping people understand things that they don't even know that they're doing, or things that they know they're doing, and trying to take some steps towards change?
Yeah. So, there's a few things we're doing, like from the business side. We have a training that we take. So we work with companies and organizations. We take them through a training. And then after that, there's some consulting opportunities based on, where they find themselves. And then I have a course available for individuals or people to go through with their family, their partner, their, smaller group, whatever. In sort of the impetus for doing it in the specific way it's done is after George Floyd was murdered, my inbox was like flooded, and it was flooded with particularly people saying, I'm not sure where to start. Like, I don't even know. Like, I'm not even, it's like when you go to the mall, when people used to go to the malls, when one were open and two were cool. Yeah. And it's like, you get in there and you're like, okay, I know that I want to get to Nordstrom, but like, I first need to know where I am. It felt like people asking, like, where am I even on the map? Like, I know that I want to be like an anti-racist advocate, but like, I don't know where to find myself. And so the course and our training it's called Understanding Racism 101 because it's meant to be 101. Like, if you have a master's in cultural studies, like, don't do this course. It's designed to say, like, my dad always says, you cannot understand content without understanding context. And so it's designed to give you the context for like what you're seeing and experiencing. Like, how did we get here? Why are people saying Black Lives Matter? This isn't a 2013, 2015 thing that just popped up. We're going to start in 1492, and I literally will take people from 1492 to 2020 and allow them to like populate timelines, because you should be able to draw a line from like 1741 to like something that happened when Barack Obama was president. Like, these things are not they are not interdependent.
Meaning, like, they're still going on,
Well,
no, they're related.
It's like they're related. Like, that you should be able to see a thread of like, it's not like, oh my gosh, 2020, we're experiencing racism, right? It's like, oh, racism is a foundational part of this country that we live in. And I want you to understand that sometimes the problem in the conversation about racism is it becomes individual. And then, so people say individually, like, well, I'm not a racist. And now you feel like you can be out of the conversation.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to show people is we exist in a system, of racism, and we have been individually impacted.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever race you are, you have been impacted by this system, and that looks different, for different folks. But that is the work we're doing now, which is it's good.
So now, just educate me a little bit more. When you go into a company, what patterns do you see? Is it a trickle down effect? Do you educate the company as a whole? Do you educate management? Do you educate executive? Like, how do you attempt to get that filtration system from the top to the bottom in a successful way?
Yeah. Well, we like to work with the leadership team first.
Mm-hmm.
At least have a conversation to say we're on the same page here, right? But then in terms of the trainings, we love to have everyone experience the training first time together.
Mm-hmm.
Because we feel like if you are like leadership, management for your organization, like you need to be showing up in the same way that you're asking,
Sure.
folks in your organization
Sure.
to show up. But then from there, we'll then after the training circle back with leadership and talk about how we move things forward. And one of the things I believe in that shows up in this work, but I believe in it about business and organizations, is that the best things are going to come when folks feel like they have a seat at the table.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm always encouraging organizations to be structured in a way where a junior designer could feel like they have the opportunity to pitch a big idea. And so in that same way, I want this work to feel like that, right? Of like everyone in here gets a say in how they feel like this organization is done, because that's when the best stuff happens.
Right.
And to completely agree with you, excited you said that. Until any leaders out there, small, big companies, Fortune 100s, whatever. Not that I have a ton of experience leading a Fortune 100 company, but yet. But
Nice.
After a couple more of these, and completely agree with what you said about making sure that all levels are included, right? So I have a small team. I run a global remote marketing agency, right? So we have a significant team in Brazil, we have some in India, and one of the most profound things that I've learned as a leader of a small company is that when you show empathy and respect for somebody in your company, the smaller, the bigger impact it will have, right? And so when somebody who's brand new comes on and I send them a video message, right? Because we're all remote, right? So we have a distributed workforce. So if I send them a video message saying, "Hey, super excited that you're on, so happy to have you here," that actually means more sending that video than if we were all in the same office and me knocking on the door and like opening up the door and being like, "Hey, welcome to the team. You're going to do great things." And then like going on to the rest of my day. Like showing them when they know that there's people all over the place, clients all over the place, things like that, like showing them the empathy, but then also following that up with including them on bigger business decisions and getting their opinions, asking their opinions on seemingly executive level decisions, I would say is one of the biggest lessons that I've learned as a still very novice growing leader of a way to run a great company. So whether it's understanding racism, growing a company, realizing positive inclusion, practices. I think I respect you for bringing that up, because I think that's one of the more powerful things that a leader can do is to include all levels. The janitor, like.
I mean, so we talked about this in a previous podcast, like the art of being human, like, and being relatable and being human. You're human first. That's your first job, is to be a human. And I think that if you can nail that down, and you can really, form those sort of connections with people, you the sky is the limit with who you can impact, the size of the businesses that you can build, because you're a damn good human. Like just do that. And Johnny, do that. I'm happy to be on your team. You do that.
My friend and I always joke and we say being human is the hardest job any of us will ever have.
Oof.
It's good work, it's the best work, but it's hard work, you know, because
it is hard work.
Of all the reasons that we said, right? Of expectations that have put on us, of things we've heard about ourselves. But I think you're right. If we can open ourselves up to, this is something I fundamentally believe to be true about the world. If we can begin to like love and embrace and respect our own nuances, our own humanity, then it will not be hard for us to do that with others. And so, like you said, when we find ourselves snapping at people and doing all these things, there's something probably internally that we haven't dealt with. Mm-hmm. So if we can begin to say like, I'm so nuanced, I'm kind of weird, I have grief, like I'm dealing with pain, I have joy, okay, all that exists in me, then when I'm going to go interact with you two, I'm going to assume that that is also true for you, and that will change our interaction. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, being human is our only job. It's a good job. It's a hard job. And, you know, we have to do it.
Also the best job. I mean.
It is the best job. Yeah. I'd take it over being a bear.
Whew, really? Like 9 months?
I'm still
6 months of sleeping, depending on where you are.
I want a human life with a bear lifestyle.
With a bear lifestyle. It's totally possible.
Also, bears are very powerful. You don't fuck with like a grizzly bear.
Nobody screws with a bear ever,
except for maybe a bull elephant.
Oh, that
we had a podcast a few weeks ago actually, where we asked the same question. He's like, "I would be a bull elephant because you go to like Africa and there's lions and tigers.
Elephants rule.
A bull elephant comes in there and they all run. Everyone runs.
Yeah,
yeah.
So, what's the next big move? What's like, you know, book tour, whatever? What's the big thing? What's coming?
So book tour obviously changed like a lot of things in 2020.
Sure.
And so it's a podcast tour. So we've just been having so many fun conversations with people. We're still doing trainings, courses. I'm launching a few new courses, some on how to be human, how to deal with expectations of other people.
Love that.
And I'm currently writing a children's book, which is a fun, exciting project.
That is awesome. I have a couple friends that are doing that. I love it. I secretly want to do it. So God bless you.
Lindsay and I are
let's
doing
do it.
I love it.
Lindsay and I literally at camp.
You're doing the
started writing children's books.
It's the greatest thing ever. I'm going to follow up with you after all this and be like, tell me everything about the children's book. Huge. Let's do it. Huge.
I'm excited.
I feel like this is a great exercise. Like, we're probably never going to actually publish our children's book.
Why would you say that?
You will. You're going to be successful.
She definitely will. Yes. Beans will definitely do it.
Why? Yeah. Why are you going to do it?
Well, I have way too many things on my plate, including being a new dad.
That's a legitimate reason.
But
that feels fair.
But it
Sorry I attacked you.
Yeah, it's okay. No offense taken. But it was. So I'm just going to tell you because I feel like this is a very honest conversation. So I started writing mine a few nights after George Floyd got murdered, and the title is Black and Blue. And it was, I started thinking of, I have this new son, my first child.
Congrats.
Thank you. He's going to grow up a great human being.
Yeah.
However I can do it, I want to make sure. And so I
dig it.
I'm reading children's books to him every night, different ones. And I was like, a children's book is a great way because I'm reading the same fucking children's book to my my son every night to the point where I could tell you exactly both of Jimmy Fallon's Everything Is Mama and a host of other ones. And I was like, this is a great way to teach a child because this is the very first thing that they're reading or hearing other than your voice. Sure. And I just started writing it. It's not complete, but like, my point is, it is and was a great exercise in trying to tell a story about what has happened to a child, hundreds of years, and how it's reflecting today, and what the tension is, and how to deal with it, and how to make sure you're not like that. And
so you finish it. You're gonna.
So I'll finish it. But even for those of you out there that don't want to finish it, writing it is a great exercise.
Yeah, cathartic.
Yeah.
How far are you along with the children's book?
Medium.
Okay.
medium far along. So I've got
Medium's good.
Medium's good.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess that was like a weird way to answer that. You know, in other books, it's like, oh, what's your word count? But this is sort of like you
The
write
less,
a
the
lot
better.
and then you bring it. Yeah, so it's been a fun exercise. So I've got concept, got idea, still nailing down sort of the story. I did a keynote earlier this year that I just like loved, and as I was preparing for the keynote, sort of wrote the idea like it's not about being brave or being afraid. To experience courage, you first need to let yourself be scared.
Right.
And so that's the concept for the book is, you know, the kid is trying to be brave, but eventually needs to realize you first have to let yourself feel scared.
Well, if you need a test market,
Right.
I would love to.
And
read
what
it
is
to
that?
my
That's
son.
like, you know, like how to become brave. Like you get opportunities to be brave. That's how you become brave.
You have to be scared. You have
Right.
you have to feel that to say like, oh, okay, this is what this feels like. I can make it. You know. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, listen, this has been an amazing interview.
Appreciate you.
One of my favorites so far.
Yeah.
You're incredibly open, and I think this is what our world needs in the business side of things, as well as, you know, just us as humans. But I have one more question for you before we leave, and I ask all of our guests this question, and I want you to answer from a personal side and or a business side.
Okay.
But what does success mean to Beans?
Good question. I think business side, I'll start first. Business answer. I think sometimes we get ahead of ourselves with success. I think if you can live your life doing what you're doing, it's successful. I don't know that we need to be as obsessed with leveling up as we are. Like if what you're doing is working and you're like paying bills with your business, like that feels like a win, a success. So that's my business answer. I think success.
Sorry, real quick. Tell the quote that I think I heard out of your book or somewhere of what your definition of success is. If you can, I think you said somewhere like if you can have a life with your wife, pay the bills, right? Like
yes,
you're successful.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's not a quote, but like that's the gist of it.
Read the book.
Well, yes, read the book. I think my friend Rach wrote that in the foreword.
Oh, that's
like
must have been where it was.
That is my dream life. Is like if I could pay my bills and like do something I love, and then have as much time as I can to hang out with my wife. Like I'm all in.
Yeah.
So.
Cheers. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's it. That was a better one than I was trying to think of.
All right, mic drop.
Boom.
Right.
Did you? Just a quick question. So remember when you met your wife, whenever as friends, and you both said like, oh yeah, well, you're probably gonna be in my wedding someday. At your actual wedding, did you reference that and be like, well, I didn't think it would be in this context?
We did not reference it at the actual wedding, but that feels like a miss. Yeah.
Like you need to after this and be like, remember that? Because
you were right.
I guess we were at the wedding.
Yeah, nailed it.
Yeah. People who were there, they got the gist of it.
They got it.
Yeah, they knew.
Yeah. Also, thanks for not letting me drink alone.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
thanks for getting
thank you for inspiring us.
Back on track with the whole name of our stupid podcast is I'm a Little Buzzed.
Who needs to detox anyways?
Nobody. Screw 75
Zero
card.
people.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, I don't even know what that means.
I feel so good. I feel so good.
But before we leave, tell our audience what is one thing that you'd like them to know about you and things that you have going on. You know, what do you want them to do, and where can they communicate with you if they have questions?
So most of the things probably that you should know about me are on the internet.
The interwebs.
Follow me on Instagram at Brit Barron, 1 T, 2 R's, or BritBarron.com, and I will keep you up to date. You can get on my mailing list. I send out an email every Friday, and it has a joke in it, so just sign up.
That's our style. We like
think
jokes.
I already followed you. I will make sure.
We got to get on the email.
I definitely already followed her, but
Yeah.
that's fine.
Get an email list.
Hey.
Got you.
Well, thank you so much. Cheers to you, Beans. Thank you so much for taking the time and sharing your stories with us and inspiring our
Beans,
audience. Go check her out.
Much.
Have an amazing day.